Hello to everyone. It's a real pleasure to see you again for this roundtable dedicated to decarbonization. And I have three great CPOs to speak about their point of view and their challenges concerning decarbonization. And the first one I would like to welcome is Dominique LEBIGOT. And Dominique LEBIGOT, you are Chief Purchasing Officer at Moët Hennessy, and I'm sure everybody knows Moët Hennessy, okay, with very prestigious brands such as Moët et Chandon, Château Cheval Blanc, Ruinart, and so on, okay. And concerning your sales, it's 6,000 million in sales in 160 different countries in the world. The second person I would like to welcome is Frederic LINO. Frederic LINO is EVP Purchasing and Supply Chain at Safran. And just a few words concerning Safran. Safran is a world leader in aerospace. And your mission is making aviation more sustainable and the world a safer place. And just a few figures. Well, in fact, concerning your sales, it's around 15 billion euros. And Safran Electrical Power is your division. And regarding procurement, it's about the total spend is of this division is 650 million of euros. And the last one is Johan Marchner. And Johan Marchner is a Senior Vice President, Power and Fossil-Free Materials. You can see the title, Fossil-Free Materials. Wow. Okay, we will explain your title later. But I would like to thank you, really, because I know it was very difficult for you to be with us today with your broken leg.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Johan.
Yeah, but I will not dance today. I will only sing.
Okay, no problem. And so Johan Marchner is working at Volvo Group, and please do not confuse Volvo Cars and Volvo Group. Volvo Cars belong to JD, a Chinese company, whereas Volvo Group, in fact, is a Swedish company, and this company is working in 4 different fields, of course, trucks, buses, construction equipment, but also marine engines. And your mission is driving prosperity through sustainable transport and infrastructure solutions. And concerning employees, you are 95,000 around the world. Is it right? Okay. So let's go. Well, last year in Europe, we have launched a great project, and this project is the Green Deal with 2 main ambitions: striving to be the first climate-neutral continent by 2050, and the second one is reducing net greenhouse gas emission by at least 55% by 2030. So it's a huge challenge. And my first question, I would like to know, in fact, in your companies, what about your objective in terms of carbon emission reduction? And Dominique, you are the first one to answer.
Thank you for that. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. If I have to answer a very simple answer to that question, our objectives as Moët Hennessy is to reduce our carbon footprint by 50% by 2030. That's the overall objective of Moët Hennessy.
And do we have a difference between scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, or?
Oh yes, I think that's very important to understand very well that difference. Scope 1 is basically as...
I will show the picture, it will be easier, okay? We have everything.
Yeah, wonderful. And you can easily see scope 1 is basically everything which belongs to your own operations, and carbon footprint emission for our own operations. Scope 2, it's about energy consumption and the circular economy within the company. And scope 3, which is the most important one for us, certainly in procurement, it's everything that relates to suppliers. So all the carbon emissions that are within the supplier landscape.
And concerning your target is concerning scope 1, 2, and 3
Absolutely.
all together.
Absolutely, knowing the fact that our percentage of scope 3 is about 93% for our total carbon footprint emission.
Okay, wow, okay. And at Safran, Frederic Lino, what about your target?
Well, first, I think that we need just to highlight the fact that the aerospace community is fully committed to drastically reduce its low carbon emission by 2030, 2035, with a final objective of carbon neutrality by 2050. For Safran, we target to reduce by 30% our greenhouse gas emissions for scope 1 and 2, and by 2025, and by 50% by 2030. All these numbers are compared to 2018. Okay, so in addition to these company targets, we have recently launched a coordinated Safran approach to tackle external contributions upstream scope 3, just to be clear, by involving the Safran's top 400 suppliers on a sort of decarbonization trajectory. And these 400 suppliers represent roughly 80% of our CO2 emissions of an annual spend.
80%.
80%.
Yeah, okay. And what about Volvo? What about the target at Volvo Group?
Thank you, Natasha, also for inviting me to this super event. And also then from the Volvo side, I mean, we are super engaged in this sustainability journey, first of all. And our objectives is first to align with the scientific-based target that we are fully supporting. And we have an ambition then to be zero net emission level, to reach that by 2050. However, we need to do that earlier, in fact, already in 2040, because the life cycle of our products is about 7 to 10 years. And to have a complete fleet on the road that is fossil-free, we need to start already 2040 with our fossil-free vehicles. However, we also have an intermediate target, and we have the ambition to reduce CO2 with minus 40% already from 2030. So that is a little bit what representing our final vehicle in the value chain. Then when it comes to internal manufacturing and internal energy consumption, here we have the ambition to reduce that by 50% by 2030 and to become carbon neutral by 2040. And that is also valid for the supply chain, and where we're also going for carbon neutrality in 2014. And we are now working on to define the roadmap between 2025 and 2040 together with our supply partners, and we are working to define that going further.
Yeah, the stakes are huge.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. And how do you proceed in terms of internal organization to implement this project, and especially in a very decentralized organization such as Safran?
Yeah, yes, you're right. Safran is indeed sort of decentralization organization with a multitude of diverse companies which are all quite independent with their own P&L, aggregates at the Safran level for sure. Yeah. But it's globally 11 main affiliates, just to be clear. And we consider that decarbonization is a key corporate project, and that must be addressed through all our affiliates. And to be effective collectively, Safran has created what we call a climate directory at corporate level. And this directory has a goal is just to target 4 strategic pillars. The first one addresses the scopes 1 and 2 with direct and indirect emissions from all our sites, for sure. The 3 others are dedicated to scope 3, with first the purchasing and logistics, the employees' mobility, part of the scope 3 as well, business, travel, and others. And the last but not least is the products and services. This is the product usage, as in the aerospace industry, the product usage is very huge in terms of CO2.
Yes. And especially in your sector, of course. I'm sorry to say that, but...
And of course, the very first challenge for purchasing and supply chain and logistics, for sure, is to have an homogeneous measurement of CO2 emissions. This is the key subject for us.
Of course, of course. And in Volvo Group, you have a very interesting organization because you have different departments dedicated to this problem, to this challenge in the procurement organization. Can you describe it?
Indeed, Natasha. And first of all, we started, in fact, the sustainability journey in purchasing already 5 years ago when we were creating a dedicated department that we call responsible purchasing. And that was the purpose with that was to put the sustainability high on the agenda for our purchasing organization and also for our suppliers. And with that initiative, we have spent a lot of time when it comes to training and making the supply chain aware. And we have also have a lot of initiatives when it comes to negotiating green electricity and energy for our own operations. On top of that, and this year, we are upgrading our organization to be even more operational and to support also the ambition of the ambitious implementation journey that we have in front of us. So first of all, we created what we call the fossil-free material purchasing team. And here with ambition then to focus on all metallic and steel materials and to really accelerate the availability and the supply of fossil-free material. And this is representing about 70% of the CO2 emissions in our products.
Of course.
On top of that, we also have created a dedicated team for circularity, where we're working with recycling and remanufacturing. And this is, of course, also to secure that we are consuming less and that we are also sustaining then these ambitions that we have. And we also have a third team that is called the Emerging Technology Team, where we are also focusing then on electromobility and all the electrical motors, electrical batteries, optimizing these materials, and then also putting a high focus on recycling of batteries also. On top of that, also in the group level, we have recently, 2 years back, created what we call Volvo Energy as a specific business area. This to accelerate the electrification for the whole Volvo Group, and also stepping out only from the vehicles, focusing on charging and charging solutions also for our customers, both when it comes to electricity, but also on hydrogen looking forward.
Yeah, a great organization. I think it's great. And in Moët Hennessy, you have implemented a procurement policy and mainly focus on decarbonization, but also containing other subjects with 4 main points.
That's correct. we are talking about 4 pillars as well. Yes, we have a specific dedicated strategy within the procurement department, and we call it Purchase for Tomorrow. And it basically relies on 3 main strategic pillars. One of them is as you may understand, sustainable viticulture. We want to have a very green way of managing our vineyards. And the second pillar, as you said, Natasha, it's about decarbonization. Third pillar is a circular economy as well. And the number 4 pillar, which is very important for us, because I believe this is going to be one of the key strategic focus for sustainability in Europe. It's about supplier diversity, where the US market...
It's key in US nowadays, but less in Europe. Yes, you're right.
Very advanced in US, and we took that as a priority to also deploy that program and to be one of the first to deploy it in Europe as well.
Okay. And now, of course, everybody knows that measurement is essential because we can only manage, in fact, what is measured. And the main problem in procurement is to be able to deal with scope 3. So, at Safran, how is it possible, and how do you manage scope 3, and how do you measure scope 3 emissions?
Okay, that's a key subject for everybody. And clearly, we are using internal work forces to do that, but we are looking at getting external advisor as well, just to help us in this long adventure journey. But more precisely, when concerning the scope 3 measurements, we are currently on a financial approach. just to be honest with you, estimated by the global amount of expenses. But in parallel, we have also launched an evaluation of our top 400 suppliers, as I said previously, by using CDP standards, combined with a specific Safran grade.
A carbon disclosure project for CDP.
Carbon disclosure project,
Okay.
sorry.
No problem.
But at the end, our final goal is just to have a real measure in relation to the type of material, energy, and processes we purchase by involving all actors in the value chain.
Yeah.
This is a sort of breakthrough approach, meaning that we, in other words, we want to address the decarbonization approach throughout the life cycle of the purchased products, meaning from the mine to our own factory.
Yeah.
Okay, so by involving all sectors or chains of our supply chain, the miners, the raw material producers, the blacksmiths, the smelters, the machinists, and finally us as a producer of the parts.
Yeah, of course. How is it? What about scope 3 measurements in Volvo Group? Johan Marchner?
Yeah, it's indeed a big challenge for sure. One thing that we have started with already a couple of years ago, that when we are taking our sourcing decisions and doing our supplier evaluation, we bring in also at least what we can measure today, that is the CO2 emission of transport between suppliers into our plants. So that we have already, when we are evaluating our suppliers, and that has a big impact with the supply decisions that we're taking since a couple of years ago. However, when it comes down to measure throughout the whole supply chain, there we are also engaging now an expertise to map the full supply chain, have a possibility also to put the baseline, and then also to be able to monitor it. So that is what we're going to work with here in this year. However, when it comes to the midterm, we have also engaged ourselves in a coalition called Catena X. That is a coalition in the automotive sector, where we, together with our automotive manufacturer, automotive suppliers, are teaming up to create a platform for digital data. And by that, we can supply a number of different information into this system, and the decarbonization and CO2 information is part of that. And we believe that is a solution for the future, and we will be able to have a strong collaboration through the supply chain by doing so.
Yeah. And Catena X is a great project because, in fact, we can see that decarbonization encourages data sharing in the supply chain. And I think this is very interesting to see this point. So before looking at action with suppliers directly, do you notice a transformation in your companies with your internal stakeholder in this context of decarbonization? Dominique.
Yeah, for sure. This is not a trend. This is not a fashion. The decarbonization. There is no way back. So of course it includes every single internal stakeholders in the company, but not only. We have learned to work a little bit differently with our internal stakeholders, because to conduct a strategy for reducing carbon footprint, you have to manage and to monitor an ecosystem of internal people. Yeah. And that's very important, because if you think about that ecosystem, and allow me to explain it a bit more, associated to that internal ecosystem, you can't drive carbon footprint reduction without associating the most important ecosystem, which is the supplier ecosystem. And I strongly believe that this is going to be one of the main drivers for the procurement job going forward, because we are clearly moving today from a traditional, and everybody knows that, a traditional supplier relationship management approach, what I call the supplier ecosystem management. Clearly, the challenge in the future will be to move from supplier competition to supplier collaboration, making our suppliers collaborating with each other, which means creating collective intelligence between suppliers. And that's the job of purchasing, to drive that. And
maybe also between competitors. like we can see with
Absolutely.
Volvo in Catena X project.
In the areas of sustainable purchasing. I mean, though the business stakes are so huge, none of the single companies can afford to tackle those challenges by itself. So we need to make sure that we can make some market changes, making different players in one same ecosystem collaborating with each other and moving in a different direction.
Yeah, of course, of course. In Safran, do you notice a transformation concerning relationship with your internal stakeholders?
Yeah.
In this context of decarbonization?
Yeah, absolutely. The same trend can be observed within Safran, and with the strengthening of the relationship between the purchasing, R&D, engineering, and specifically for the development of new products or new technologies that we want to embed in our proposal to our customers. And but we need just also to face of strong constraints coming from the aerospace industries. The first one is the qualification of new technologies.
Yes.
Because the regulations impose a qualification if we want to put these new technologies in the airplane, and to reduce CO2 emissions for sure. That will be a very strong challenge for us to be accepted and validated by the regulations. The change can take a long time. As soon as we have found a solution, we know that lasts more or less 3 or 4 more times than in the automotive industry. So as soon as we have it, we must keep it on the long run. And above all, we have very high safety criteria that we have to respect as well. Yeah. So it's a very demanding challenge for purchasing, supply chain, and all the communities internally. But reducing our gas emissions is definitely vital for the aerospace industry. Okay?
Yeah, of course.
If we want to survive, we absolutely need to be on this path. Yeah. And we are constantly looking for new materials for better properties to reduce, for instance, the weight of the aircraft. But to be more precise, for Safran Electrical and Power, we are seeking breakthrough, as I said, breakthrough technologies to switch conventional energies from oil to engine electrifications. Yeah. And this move, just to be clear on the supply chain, this move will need to develop a new supply chain that we have not currently.
You have the same problem also, in fact, in your sector.
And with potentially new actors coming from other industries.
Yeah. Of course, of course. At Volvo Group, do you notice also a transformation concerning your relationship with your internal stakeholders?
Yeah, definitely, and I think we have also, in the purchasing organization, we have a true role to play here also to connect the right supplier partners to our engineering offices. And since a couple of years also, we're working more and more with what project that we call eco-design. Yeah. And that means also that we're training our engineering teams to really design for CO2 reduction and design for recycling. And doing that also, as Mr. Lin says, we need to address also to other type of suppliers that perhaps not the traditional suppliers. Sometimes there is suppliers that are able to take on that journey. Sometimes we need also to address other type of suppliers. Yeah. When it comes to, for instance, we can talk about soft material for seats, etc., that we have been buying purely. Now we're working more and more with recycling material. But to define that specifications, I mean, we need also to learn our engineers to do so. Same thing when it comes to recycled aluminium, for instance, that we're working with more and more, and that is all giving us sort of CO2 gains, but it's also reducing cost for us, and we are consuming less aluminium. However, this type of material are perhaps not the same specification that we're used to, so we need to take that into account when we're designing the components also. But this is a very strong collaboration. I feel that we also have a good sort of understanding for that and a very good interest from our engineering teams to connect with the right supply partners also. So
of course.
we have a really good and dynamic collaboration cross-function in our company.
Yeah, it's great. And now I propose to focus more precisely on your actions with your suppliers, okay, to reduce, of course, CO2 emission. And Dominique LEBIGOT, you have, I think, very interesting project called Global Proximity. What is it?
Yeah, it's an initiative that we started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Basically, we spent a lot of energy in the past trying to identify the best producers and suppliers all over the world, since our manufacturing landscape is global. And after having increased this international sourcing, we decided to reduce the carbon footprint by asking our suppliers to invest in manufacturing sites next to our operations, next to our wineries. And that's something that we have been pushing our suppliers in the past, and we have been very successful because now today we have more than 10 programs on place where suppliers have accepted to invest locally into access to this the pool of customers in the region, including ourselves, and we have been able to reduce by more than 30,000 tons of CO2 in the past 2 years. Thanks to that very interesting initiative. We call it global proximity because at the end of the day, it's taking benefits of the global coverage while ensuring low carbon emission, avoiding products to be shipped across the world and reducing lead times as well.
Yeah. At Safran, you are supporting your supplier in these new challenges. And may you explain what is this program concerning your suppliers?
Okay, not only Safran, the aerospace industry, we have the culture of supporting suppliers through association or non-profit organization like GIFAS in France.
In France, yeah.
Or Space Aero in Europe.
Yeah.
So we already do that. We already support them in terms of methods, quality, operations, even finance sometimes, so on decarbonization as well, for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, just to make things clear, we'll have also to take strong decisions because we absolutely need just to have suppliers capable of committing to a low carbon trajectory, which is not so simple for small companies.
Yeah.
And and we perfectly know that we'll have to rationalize our supply chain, which is definitely too complex and fragmented to be totally efficient. So rationalization will be key for us in the coming months or years, just to target the decarbonization approach. And practically speaking, on a sourcing standpoint, we have decided as well to integrate it into the TCO approach, the decarbonization criteria, that will be key for the selection of suppliers in the coming months.
Yeah, the Faurecia CPO speak about TCO2. I think it's funny. Okay, and in Volvo Group, you have very strong links with your suppliers, and in fact, decarbonization is transforming your relationship with your suppliers.
Yes, indeed, and I think here also we are evolving with this project because we have a tradition in the Volvo Group to work very integrated with our tier 1 suppliers, and that means that most of our relationship is with we have many big automotive suppliers that are managing their supply chain in a very diligent way. And we also have a number of mid-sized companies, etc. But the principle is that our tier 1s are taking care of the raw material, etc. And we are interacting with the raw material suppliers only when we are buying for our own plants. Yeah. However, now in this decarbonization journey, we are extending that, and we are engaging ourselves in the relation directly with the raw material suppliers. Yeah. And that is to be able to promote the decarbonization journey and also to support our mid-sized suppliers with the ambition of doing this decarbonization journey and change or bring our raw material suppliers on the decarbonization journey. And that's very important for us. And we have some good examples on that where we have, for instance, had a project together with the Swedish steel supplier called SSAB. And that is one of our suppliers supplying green steel. And of that, we have developed one of our first vehicles that is done on 100% fossil-free steel.
Just look at the picture. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, this is what it is called Para, and this is our first vehicle that is a fossil-free steel vehicle, and that is a product that we are taking on now. And this vehicle is not only fossil-free, but 100% fossil-free. It's also 100% electric, and it's also 100% automated. So it means that this is a fantastic offer for our customers when they have their operation sites, when they wish also on their side become completely carbon free and reduce their footprints. So it's also a question of finding the right offer to the market.
I want the same.
Yeah.
So the circular economy is key to reduce, of course, CO2 emissions. And your three companies are involved in a circular project. Dominique, can you explain one of these projects, Dominique LEBIGOT at Moët Hennessy?
Yes, I can explain one of them. There are many. If I had to pick one, I would mention what we call the gold in the seeds. It's basically during the time of the harvest, when we press all the grapes and we take the liquids out of it. In fact, the waste is being today reused for being recycled for other products within LVMH. As you know, Moët Hennessy is MH of LVMH. And so for some other products within the other maison, they are using our waste of harvest materials to recycle it. So that's what we call the gold in the seeds. And we are accelerating and multiplicating those numbers of initiatives as well.
Yeah, it's great. And at Safran, I know you also have many different projects concerning circular economy.
We have for sure a lot of projects on recycling and for sure the development of the metal recycling industries in Europe and for decarbonization purpose, but also for securing access to the materials is definitely key for the industry.
Yeah.
And we are on this point fully aligned with our first European customer. I mean Airbus for sure, which is increasingly involved in those initiatives. And recently, we acquired Aubert & Duval. Aubert & Duval is a forger, blacksmiths, basically specialized in stainless steel and different alloys such as aluminium.
With Airbus, no?
Yeah, we
together with Airbus.
Well, I just explained that Aubert & Duval is specialized in different alloys, including titanium, cobalt, and nickel. Yeah. Okay, so and we jointly with Airbus and TKO Capital, which is hedge fund, basically, just to acquire Aubert & Duval, and this acquisition was a clearly strategic move, and. Part of these forging activities, Aubert & Duval is a pioneer in circularity projects, and with the first integrated and recycled titanium offer in Europe. In a very simple way, just to explain how it works. The principle is to melt in a specific factory in France named Eco-Titanium. The titanium sponge and ingot produced by a miner, KTMP, it's a mining company localized in Kazakhstan, just to be clear, not in Russia, but in Kazakhstan. Yeah. And recycling scrap plus recycling scraps and cuttings. So we melt ingots and scraps, and coming from different sources, by the way. And these melts provide aviation-grade titanium alloys. That can be used in parts in titanium and put in the aircraft.
This is a great project because at the same time you are at the heart of circular economy and you are securing, in fact, your procurement and titanium procurement.
And this is basically at Aubert & Duval factory. This is clearly an innovative process to reach this target, and the Eco-Titanium will prevent something like 100,000 tons of CO2 emissions by consuming 4 times less than the conventional channel. just to be
Okay.
precise.
And I would like, please, can you speak about your project with your supplier? The name of the supplier is Ovaco.
Yeah,
This is
I
also a
can do-
circular project. It's very interesting
it's
too.
quite interesting, and it's a little bit one of type of product that I think we will see more and more of. First of all, in our product plan, we have already launched electrical vehicles, both heavy and medium size vehicles for the Volvo Group. And we are also working intensively to launch fuel cell electric vehicles in some years. But for that, we need hydrogen. We need filling stations for hydrogen. And we have a supplier partner for steel that is called Ovaco. That is a Scandinavian steel supplier that we are working and buying steel from every day for our operations, etc. However, we have discussed together, and they have put together a project in Sweden to produce their steel from green hydrogen. And when they're doing so, to melt and to produce this steel, they will have an excess of hydrogen, in fact, in their process. So first of all, that they are going to do this green steel that we can continue to buy from them, that will help our supply chain to be CO2, to reduce the CO2 footprint, of course. But then also in the project is that they are offering them that we're setting up filling stations and working to extend the infrastructure of hydrogen for our customers to use their vehicles. So it's a double sort of win-win solution with this, and it's really, really interesting. And if you know, also a lot of hydrogen and electricity in Scandinavia is coming from hydraulic turbines in the rivers, etc. So we think that this is something that can really become bigger and bigger, and we are very excited about this project and have the possibility to offer them a filling station structure also for our customers.
Yeah, it's a great project. And in Moët Hennessy, in fact, you are also rethinking your transportation solutions. Sorry for Volvo. So can you explain how is it possible?
It's not really less Volvo, but it's about less truck transportation. Basically, we try to avoid as much as we can the truck transportation. We have been deploying a new alternative to the truck carriers with rail. So we are moving all our products from Cognac today up to the ports in the north of France, where the products are being shipped worldwide. And instead of shipping our products, finished products, using trucks, as we have been doing for many years, we are today shipping those products, or part of it, using rails. We also have decided to limit the number of shipments by sea between Europe and Asia, and for that we have been investing a lot of time and energy into the Silk Road and using the rail between France up to China, and to avoid carbon emission of the sea shipments. So that's a few examples. Another one is within the harvesting and the vineyards that we are managing.
You are still using trucks. Yeah, wow.
We are still using trucks to ship our liquids, but instead of having fuel trucks, it's about electrical or gas trucks as well. So we still are using trucks.
So it's great. It's great.
But perhaps I can interact very, very shortly on that. I think also that we should, I mean, from our side, on Volvo side, we are reasoning also to optimize logistic solutions for our customers.
Okay.
So it's not so much about trucks or rails or whatever. The importance that I think we have together is to really optimize the logistics, and there's what we have an added value for our markets. And I think there is also, when working together, both on the customer side, through the industrial side, through the supply chain, there's where we can gain. And we should discuss more, because on the Volvo Group, we can help you with that.
That's about managing ecosystems.
Exactly.
We can see that, in fact, we cannot achieve decarbonization without new forms of mobility, in fact. And let's see what Safran is proposing us in the future. Just have a look. I think it's great. Frederic, do you want to explain us?
Yeah, a little bit of dream in the near future. We hope it will be sooner than people are expecting, basically. Safran Electrical and Power, just to be clear, is is producing a wide range of smart
Very
electrical
shortly, okay?
engines. we produce engine, and you see the picture in the middle of this slide, and with the three propellers. Huh? And we think that electrical propulsion can cause a paradigm shift in the aviation industries. That means that in a couple of years, we think that passenger drones will be part of our urban mobility mix. And between 2025 and 2030, as soon as we will be able to manage safely and affordably electrical power of 500 kilowatts in the airplanes, we will see flying in our sky new vehicles as VTOL.
This is a cab.
Yeah, the vehicle takeoff landing. This is one of them. And we will see that in our sky and available for people in a smart transportation from one side to another. Okay, but the biggest challenge of this is not so a technical challenge. The problem is to build a new ecosystem with roads in the sky and a new complete unmanned and manned aircraft system traffic management.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah. So thank you very much for your very inspiring experiences. It was great, really. And as a conclusion, let's quote French philosopher Henri Bergson: "The future is not what will happen, but what we make of it." Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot.